call to order the December meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board. It's Tuesday, December 17th, at 5 o'clock in the community room at the FPB Administration Building. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Member DeLong? Here. Member Cuban?
Here.
Member Mason?
Here.
Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Dutton Mitchell? Here.
We have a quorum to do business, and before we do the first item with the board's approval, we have a guest tonight, and would like her to come up here and introduce herself. Katima Smith-Willis, who's the newly elected city commissioner. She came by today, and Gary and I had a chance to talk with her, and she wanted to learn more about the plant board and said she wanted to come to a board meeting, and so we told her we'd like to have her here and introduce her. So welcome.
Thanks.
How
are you all? Good evening.
Fine.
Good evening. I've had a busy day, so sorry I didn't get a chance to change and look professional. But my name's Katima Smith-Willis. I am a newly elected city commissioner. Had a great meeting with John and Gary this afternoon, and I learned so much about the plant board. I guess from like a citizen level, I really got to dive into the inner workings and how the plant board really does contribute a lot to our community and the overall sustainability and efficiency. So I just wanted to say hello, introduce myself. I'm here, to have any meetings with anybody if you all would like to talk one-on-one, have a sidebar. But I just really appreciate you all and all the work that you all do, just as an active citizen, but now as an elected city commissioner as well.
Top vote getter.
Top vote getter.
Yeah.
That is, top vote getter. That was a little shocking, but I'm here and I'm ready to work, and I look forward to working with you all in whatever capacity that may be, just moving forward and having more conversations and to see how I can be an active voice for you all and work together and move our community forward. So thank you all.
Well, thank you for coming, and she's indicated that she wants to look at some of our facilities. She wants to go up to the reservoir, the water treatment, the head in, out to Myrtle, Hickory, and see all the operations. So she's going to be looking around, and we told her whatever she wants to do, she's welcome to do. So
John said a hard hat. I said, count me in.
That's right.
All day. So I'm excited. Yes, thank you all.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
First item, consider approving the minutes of the November 19th, 2024 board meeting. Everybody should have them in front of them. Do we have any changes, corrections? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Next item, 1.2, consider approving the minutes of the December 4th, 2024 special board meeting. Any changes, corrections? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Item number 2.1, financial statements for the month ending November 30th, 2024. Mr. Denton.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Plant Board's fiscal year begins in July 1st of each year, so we presented tonight for you, in your board packet, financials through November of 2024. So this is through 5 months of this current 25 fiscal year. I'd like to just do a brief update on page 21, starting with our statement of net position. Looking at total assets, line 75, you can see as of November 30th, 24, the plant board had $242.9 million. You'll notice this is up 9.4 million or 4%. Looking at what's driving that, looking at line 45, you can see that our property, plant, and equipment net of accumulated depreciation, or otherwise known as net book value, is up 9.4 million year over year, bringing our total property, plant, and equipment net of depreciation at just at $152.5 million. So that's 63% of our total assets. That is definitely driving that increase in assets. Looking at total liabilities on line 155, you can see we're just at 101 million. You can see this is going in the right direction as well, down 4.9 million or 4.6% year over year. When you have the assets moving in the right direction, the liabilities in the right direction, you can see our increase in net position of 11% at 141.9 million. And as November 30th, bringing our liabilities and net position equal to assets at $242.9 million. Not a whole lot changed from last month, but that gives you just a little feel for where we are. I'd like to talk just briefly about the financial performance through 5 months, looking at page 26 of your board packet. This is our statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position. So when you look at total revenue, that's line 20, that's operating revenue, which is the primary revenue generated from sale of electric, water, and telecom services, plus our other revenue, which kind of catches all other revenue outside of our operating. Two of those combined is just over 48.3 million. You add your total expenses of operating expenses and your general and admin expenses, you're at 40.7, bringing your net position or net contribution to just over 7.9 million. So you can see budget to actual, we were doing fairly well through the first 5 months, and we were outperforming last year, primarily for the increased usage of electric and water services. But that's a quick summary of where we are through 5 months, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions of David? Steve?
David, could you kind of generally go over some estimated future costs might be obligations? Because I know that it sounds very good what we're saying, but I want to just give like an overview of our, the telecom, the water potential cost, and those types of things. Just a general summary of expenses, potential expenses.
Yeah, so when we look at what the plant board has to, our customers' hard-earned dollars go to, it's 4 different things we look at setting rates. We have to cover your general operating expenses. That's to make everything we do every day work and get services to you. The next one is investing heavily in infrastructure. All utilities, it's a very large investment to get electric, water, telecom to the customer. So there's a big part of our money goes to that. Then you have debt service on, when we have really large capital projects that we can't fund in cash, we do have to go out and borrow money for that. So you have to pay down principal and interest on that. And then the rest is to have a decent cash reserve so that we have sufficient cash to get through natural disasters, to get through any other type of financial unexpected events we may need, and also to keep our bond rating high. So when I talk about we're doing decent budget to actual year over year, but we're also taking a lot of money planned to invest back in capital projects. That is a huge emphasis of the budget over the last few years, and when you look out the next 5, the investment in Nextband is significant. We are still working on AMI, which is significant. And we have seen the inflation that we've seen since COVID has calmed down for sure, but there's no doubt we continue to see increases in expenses. That's just, no matter what industry you're in, that tends to be the trend. So I would say the largest thing we're facing right now is just getting through large capital projects needed to maintain service and improve service. So pretty much every dollar is spoken for in plans ahead.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions of David? Going into the winter, what's our situation in terms of bad debt overall for just delinquent accounts?
Sure, we are back to pre-COVID limits. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing very much what we saw prior to 2020 mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And maintaining those same levels. So
Okay.
We are a winter peaker electric,
Mm-hmm.
and we do see a lot of usage in water in winter as well as people keep those faucets running in cold times.
Yeah.
So some of your highest utility bills are coming to our customers due to their usage in winter. Overall, though, we've been able to maintain a historical bad debt situation.
Okay.
We've talked about prepaid utilities
Yeah, right.
that we're looking to be coming to you all with very soon. And one of the benefits of that type of program is to help mitigate and maintain and maybe even lower potential bad debt. So,
Right. Any other questions for David? If not, do we have a motion on the financials?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Financials are accepted. The next item, and David can go into more detail, as you know, Blue & Company's been our auditor. We've basically adopted the policy recommended for the state by the state auditor's office in terms of rotating auditors. In staying with that policy, we can extend with Blue one more time if we choose to, or we can go out on bid. Because we've been fortunate enough to get some federal grants for solar, broadband, and so forth, that also brings in, and having been in the state auditor's office, we are now a proud participant in the Federal Single Audit Act, which is a lot of extra paper, just because once you go over a certain dollar amount, you have to do additional schedules to comply with the federal law. So that increases the cost of the audit regardless of who's doing it. We can go back out again. My bet would be if we went back on the street right now, I'd say prices will be higher than what we're looking at now, but there's no way to know until you go. But I would assume to bring in somebody brand new, start from scratch, a new learning, it will be an increased cost. But this, if we want to renew one more year for this current budget year, this will be the last extension if we choose to. So, David, turn it over to you.
Sure. Not much more to add there, Mr. Cubine. The last year's audit fee did not include a single audit, and you've got before you tonight the engagement letter from Blue and Company. So we really just want to put it to the board. You can either move forward with Blue for another year. That includes the single audit work. There's in the price quoted for them, there is one major program included in the price. If there were to be a second major program or more, it'd be an additional $5,250 for each additional program. We could have up to two, but we know at least we'll have one with the Clean Water Act funds we received for the reservoir. So I just leave it to the board on moving forward with Blue or put out an RFP for another.
And I mean, and they are asking for more, but like I said, I go back to the state auditor's office. When we do audits of various state agencies, the big ones, obviously, Transportation, Human Resources, had lots of federal programs, and their audit fees were higher because you had to do that additional work to submit to the federal government. So Blue asking for extra for single audit work is a legitimate expense. It's something, it's extra work that they have to certify and submit to the federal government, so. So any questions of David or whatever the board's pleasure is? Like I said, we can renew or we can go out and test the water and see, what the bids would be. But if we want to extend, this will be it. And from what I've seen, Blue has been pretty thorough and they've been timely and they've gotten their work done, on time. So whatever the board's pleasure is. Steve?
I make the motion to engage the Blue Company.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor of awarding Blue the last year of the contract, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Tell Ann Norville he's stuck with us one more year.
Yes, sir.
So,
Thank you all.
thank you. Next, Ms. Poe, any public comments, web comments?
No, sir, no public, nobody's here, and we did not have any web comments.
And everybody is aware, the gentleman who came last month about his tree, we went out, we looked at it, we talked to a family member, we explained what our policy was, what the situation was, and they understood. They just would have liked to have gotten the tree down. But we explained that really that we're not allowed to do work over and beyond what is necessary to trim trees for power lines. And they were very understanding, and we've written them a letter, and I think Gary signed it, so we did resolve that one from last month. Number 4, Gary?
Yes. The department report, the first one is the public information. Harvey, do it.
Thank you. Miss Lindsay is under the weather tonight, so you guys get me instead. But I'll try to smile as much as she does. We were at the Christmas parade. Fun time was had by all. We appreciate our partnership with the radio station on putting that on. Also want to shout out all of our employees for donating to the United Way campaign this year. FPB employees pledged $9,462 to United Way of Franklin County this year. We finished up our fall sports season for all the local high schools, covering volleyball, soccer, and football. Want to give good credit to the Franklin County High School football team who made it all the way to the state finals before falling to Paducah-Tillman, and all the hard work that our Cable 10 crew did covering all those games. And then speaking of Cable 10, we'll have lots of holiday programming coming up. On Cable 10 on Christmas Eve, we have a marathon of best Christmas pageant ever performances from over the years. And then on Christmas Day, we'll have a marathon of the Frankfurt Christmas parades from over the years. So you can go back in time and watch all those historic moments. And that's in addition to all the other, Christmas concerts and holiday chorales and band concerts that we'll be showing to get everybody in the holiday spirit. So if anybody has any questions.
And you might just add, I know there were some questions raised why we didn't broadcast the state finals.
Yes.
And that gets, you might want to cover that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the KHSAA retains exclusive rights for live broadcasts of the finals. So as much as we wanted to, that was not an option for us. So we could go all the way up to the semifinals, and then they say that's all.
But seeing the old Christmas parade should be good. Watching candy being thrown at a high velocity at people in the crowd in the old one.
It is pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
The next one is a NOG, Darren.
Good evening.
The knock report for November, in November, the knock handled 466 trouble calls. Looks like we took 2,805 phone calls, and on the locate side, they did 513 locates, down a little bit, but it's November, so it's that time of year. And that's for the fiscal year, that's a total of 3,102 locates, so still pretty busy, you know, always busy. Any questions?
You still fully staffed?
On the locate side, we are fully staffed. In the knock side, we just had our knock supervisor took an internal position, so we backfilled that position, and now we'll be looking for a dispatcher.
Okay.
So, never-ending process.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next is our telecommunication. Oh, I'm sorry, it's customer service, April.
Good evening. I'm a little under the weather too, so my voice is, if it goes in and out, I apologize. You can find the customer service reports, page 109 to 113. Not a whole lot of change from last month. We had about 10 or 15 more customer interactions than we did in October. The wait times did go down a little bit. I think last month they were still under 2 minutes, but they were like a minute and 40 seconds, and we got them down to like a minute and 30, and then the others were around the 2 minute mark and a little over the 2 for the more detailed billing. The kiosk transactions, we are up about 20 from the previous month. We may see more of those this month, just kind of my shameless plug for the kiosks. So with us having several days that were closed this month, definitely customers should utilize those kiosks because they are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Other than that, I don't really have much more to share unless you all have any questions.
And you might add, one of the kiosks is outside where
There are two.
They can reach it 24
Yes.
24 hours a day if they want to use it.
Yes, and there's not personnel here all the time. They're watching the cameras to make sure that it's safe and nothing's, no one's hanging out there or anything,
Right.
so.
John?
Would you mind remind folks what days we're going to be closed during the holiday season?
So we are closing at 11:30 on the 23rd. We're closed the 24th and the 25th, which is Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we're also closed the following Tuesday and Wednesday, the 31st and the 1st. So, all right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So where's the kiosk located? The one outside?
They're in the drive-through, so they're
Okay.
right behind. So the tubes that go inside, they're a car length behind those, so that there can be 2 people in the drive-through or 4 actually at a time. Yep.
And then the other one's here in the lobby.
In the lobby,
Yeah.
so it's just open when we're open.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all.
I like to mail the check with a stamp.
Telling your age.
Give it.
And next is Adam for the telecommunication.
Check out Way to Watch and Andy Griffith.
Eddie Griffith, yeah, in the Bonanza, yeah.
You could have said passenger pigeon. No, the board report starts on page 115 with customer numbers. Everything looks good there. Pages 116 and 117 are the outages for the month. We had 5 outages. Most of them were weather related. We had a couple storms that blew through, some blown fuses, things of that nature. Trouble call was up a little bit. I talked to the supervisor about it. He says a lot of it's people, new apps, new TVs and things of that nature. So we'll kind of gauge next month and see what it is. We have the new Nextband app, Command IQ, and I think there's a little bit of a learning curve getting customers on it. So I think that's some of them as well. As far as the Nextband, we're just about everywhere. We're out of 127 towards Mills Lane area, working out there. We're doing some splicing up in the northern part of 127. We're going to turn on some areas on Lucas Lane, Benson Reserve, and out Louisville River.
How are we doing on easements?
As of today, we have 288 signed, and we need 336 more. So, we're moving along. We need to go a little faster. Talked to Mike this morning. We might come back next month with some with a different idea,
Okay.
maybe some more professional help and something
Okay.
like that. But I'll follow up later. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next is electric department, Scott and Travis.
Good evening. The electric report for November starts on page 119. And starting at 119, you'll see our SAIDI numbers for the month of November are 48.875. Page 120 will show you our top 10 outages for the month. With total customer account affected was 2,023. Page 121 will be your pie chart, which shows the percentages of the types of failures we had or outages. And then you will see on page 122 those percentages down to official numbers with the total numbers of 37 for outages. Be happy to answer any questions.
How are we doing on the pole replacements, the ones that need to be replaced?
We're doing real well. They've come through, osmosis came through the first section. We've tackled the poles that were at the 50% mark, which were the critical failures. We've switched to doing the ones that are the intermediate ones, which is 65%. Osmosis is supposed to be starting back in the next week or two, hopefully, to do round 2. So we're staying up with them, so we're good with that.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. AMI installs for electric were at 20,775. Water installs 14,202. So, kind of business as usual there. We're plugging along with those. This time of year, installs may start to slow down a little bit over the winter. Being cold, we don't want to cut people off or disrupt their service if we can. So, otherwise, we're kind of keeping the pace on that. For the SEPA report, it begins on page 123 of your board package. For the month of October, our total SEPA bill was $82,285. Our net payment was $115,250 for a profit to the plant board of $32,966, which brings us through October a net benefit to the board of $1,050,337. So, having a good year. October, the revenue was down a little bit, but that's pretty normal. It's, based on market prices and water levels and how much generation. So if you look at the bar graph on page 124, October is usually a pretty,
but
kind of a down month.
The key question is Mr. Denton happy with the number?
Never good enough.
It's never good enough.
Yeah, never good enough, but it does look like it usually is.
Yeah.
And no new rate increases to report this month, so that's more good news. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Travis?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, for the QMEA, I really don't have a lot of a new what happened there report to you, but if you do have any comment question, I will happy to answer that. Okay. Yeah, the next safety.
Safety report begins on pages 123 and 123, 125, or 127, 128. We had 2 OSHA recordables for the month of November. One was electric employee, one was a service center. Electric employee, just minor thing, just reached over out of the bucket, reaching for a wire and just hurt his ribs, placed on restricted duty. The support service staff tripped over a rug, caused a laceration on the head. So that's the OSHA recordables for November, and we had 1 vehicle accident, very minor, just backed into a pole, light pole, but barely any damage. So that's all I got.
And you might tell them I passed fire extinguisher training.
You did pass. You didn't overshoot it, you shot it right at the base.
I put out a blazing fire of mulch. It was pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the water distribution. Danny going to give you a report.
John, I did have a question.
Yeah.
If a board member gets injured in one of these activities, is that an OSHA reportable item?
Yes, it is OSHA reportable.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. The water distribution monthly report is on pages 129 through 131. We installed 4 new services, had 3 main breaks, and 3 outages for the month of November. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on? How are we doing on the? Is it you or Sharmista? How are we doing on the agreements with Palmer Engineering and for the permanent lines on the bridge, water lines over at Bell Point?
Sharmista.
Sharmista.
Yes.
Okay.
Coming up
Good evening. Yeah, we actually have a meeting tomorrow with KYTC in Palmer to discuss the final connection. So
Okay.
they'll probably engineer it for us. We're just gonna try to determine the best location through the river. Right now, I think they're gonna do a cost comparison though, so we'll work up. Palmer will do a true cost estimate. I've been receiving a lot of different estimates from different boring contractors, and the number, I think I may have mentioned this previously, the numbers just vary drastically. So we really need to get more of a better design so we can get true quotes, and then they'll compare that number to actually connecting to one of the Clinton Street Bridge. And then we'll go from there.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Next, the water treatment plant, Brendan.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of November, the water treatment plant treated 222,417,000 gallons of water for a daily average of 7.41 million gallons per day. Lock 4 averaged 2,611 cubic feet per second for an average of 1.6 billion gallons a day. And there was 4 inches of rain recorded this past month.
So are we about back to normal flow in terms of waterfall and rainfall this year? And
As far as, I think we average between 4 and 5 a month, I think. So that's pretty close. But the river, it's better, but it's not quite there where we like it. But we'll take it.
yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else, Gary? Okay. Action items. Item 5.1, consider award of bid invitation number 1815 for sub-transmission recloser to G&W Electric in the amount of $264,395. Travis.
Yes, sir. Good evening again. So staff prepared an invitation for a sub-transmission 69 kV recloser. It was advertised and distributed to potential vendors. We received 3 responses. We recommend award in the amount of $264,935 to G&W with a delivery of 52 weeks. This is a part of a capital improvement project that Electric has in the budget. Obviously, as you can see by that delivery time, it's going to roll over into next year's budget. But again, this was a planned project. All 3 vendors proposed the same piece of equipment. So we got distributor pricing and a direct price. This one, direct price, happened to be the lowest. So again, staff recommends award of bid 1815 to G&W Electric.
Okay. Do we have any questions on this item?
That's coming in under budget.
It is. There will be some additional work that has to be done. We'll probably install a new pole and some switches. All said and done, we will probably be close to that number, but we're the equipment itself is about where we expected it to be. Yes.
Any other questions of Travis? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Awarded to, on item number 1815. Next item is 5.2, with the board's permission to defer this. We may want to discuss after we come out of closed session or at a different meeting, but I don't think we're ready to discuss this one based on some things we're going to have to review later. So, item 5.3, consider approving Great American Family Agreement. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff recommends the approval of the Great American Family Agreement. This is an NCTC agreement with a term through October 31st of 27. We currently carry Great American Family on channel 176 on the optional preferred cable package. They've sort of leaned into becoming a new Hallmark channel. They've gotten a lot of the talent and staffing from the Hallmark channel, and they do holiday movies and things like that. The rate reset and the annual increases are below budgeted numbers. This agreement also includes OTT rights, and there are no additional carriage requirements or obligations. And staff attorney has reviewed the agreement and meets with his approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Any questions for Harvey? How many people carry the next tier up?
Preferred cable.
Yeah. How many?
It's about 40% of our cable subscribers.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? approved. Next item, consider FanDuel Sports Ohio Amendment. This is Harvey, and I'll also defer to Mr. Snyder on this, since
Sure.
he's our resident expert in this particular
Yeah.
matter.
Well, I'll provide a little bit of background on this item. Diamond Sports, who owns FanDuel Sports, which is formerly known as Valley Sports Ohio, and previously known as Fox Sports Ohio, carries the Reds. They recently emerged from bankruptcy proceedings, and in that process has been renegotiating rights deals with all of the teams that they carry. Obviously one of the teams that they need to negotiate with is the Cincinnati Reds, who they carry here in Frankfurt. And the Reds announced about a month ago that they will not renew their agreement with Diamond Sports and intend to instead distribute their games on a new Reds TV channel that they'll distribute with Major League Baseball, in partnership with Major League Baseball. All that being said, staff recommends the board not approve this director agreement with Diamond Sportsnet for FanDuel Sports Ohio. The agreement as presented has a term through April 30th of 2025, so it's a 4-month extension. The Cable Advisory Committee was unable to come to a consensus on a recommendation for this item. The FanDuel Sports does still have the rights of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the agreement before you tonight is, again, for 4 months, which is past the end of the NBA and NHL seasons. I am happy to answer any questions you might have on this item.
John?
Thank you, Harvey. That was a very good explanation. Originally, when the Cable Advisory Committee was not able to come to a conclusion, we just kind of had this out there as whether we would consider this or not.
Mm-hmm.
I am against doing this for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that I don't think Diamond Sports is going to they're not going to get this. I think the Reds are going to go with Major League Baseball, and they're going to come up with a channel that runs from the beginning of the baseball season to the end of the baseball season.
They've done that with a handful of other,
at least 2 or 3 others.
I think it's more
know
like
of.
6 or 8.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
the Rockies, the
Right.
Angels, the Padres
Yeah.
have all distributed games through Major League Baseball on basically a part-time. This would be the games only, no other program.
And there really isn't much else on that channel besides Reds games. I mean, in terms of our local folks. I mean, there are
I would
other
agree.
sporting events and stuff, but for the most part, there's not a lot of stuff. Essentially, what FanDuel has brought to us is retaining it at I know I can't give a price, but the sports channels always cost more than anything else. So it is an expensive channel. I can say that. And what they have said to us is if they don't get the Reds, they're going to cut that back to, what were they going to charge?
Well, I'd rather not say the exact number, but
some,
a number lower.
Some amount. So
Yeah.
they were going to charge some amount.
Yeah.
Even at the amount they were going to cut back to, I don't think the channel's worth it.
I would agree.
I would suggest we not renew this. Put a card up on Channel 36 starting January 1st, explaining the situation. As soon as we find out how we're going to get Reds games, we're going to do what we can to get Reds games.
Yeah.
So I think I would vote to not renew this agreement. And you are already working on getting the Reds secured for come April.
We actually went through this process about 1.5 years ago when Diamond Sports missed a payment to the Reds.
Right.
And went right up to the edge.
We thought they were going to be done then,
and that they were going to that we would take those directly from MLB, and we were ready to do that. So I think we haven't seen a proposal from MLB. We have a good relationship with them through Major League Baseball Network. I'm confident that we'll be able to get something.
And Harvey, if in the case of like the Padres or the other teams that have done this, do they just show the games and the pregame and the postgame? Do they run any kind of classic stuff or anything else?
My understanding is it's basically just the games and the adjacent programming, pregame, postgame, and that basically they send you to MLB Network for any of that other kind of content.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we not renew the agreement with FanDuel Sports Ohio.
Here we have a motion. Well, first, any other discussion?
This isn't really about on the vote itself, but when a channel is dropped, well, first of all, when do you think there might be a resolution on to where the Cincinnati Reds are going to go?
Well, I mean, the season starts in April, so they're going to have to come to some sort of an agreement. I mean, it's gonna have to be in the next, I
Yeah.
would say 6 weeks, to no more than 6 weeks.
We've reached out to the Major League Baseball people, and they indicate that we should see something, they say relatively soon. I would say within a month.
Yeah.
We should see, and then we'll go back and forth a few times.
Because it behooves, the Reds are not gonna wanna, the Reds are not gonna wanna be in a position where their games are not broadcast.
Yeah.
So they're gonna work with MLB Network to get Major League Baseball to get this product out to the providers.
Yeah.
So essentially, we'll work to find a
Excellent.
replacement that includes Cincinnati Reds.
Well, it's probably just gonna be a standalone channel.
Okay.
That's-
Yeah.
And,
And if we don't find that,
mhm.
or historically in the past, when we actually just lose
Right.
a channel,
Mhm.
do we adjust rates?
So yeah, I mean, that would certainly figure into the calculation
Yeah.
for when the next, rate adjustment would happen.
I think honestly, I think Harvey and I have talked briefly about this, was, we, for what's essentially gonna be about a 4-month period, where, we'll still have the rate on the Fox Sports, the old Fox Sports Ohio. I think we'll just meld that into next year when we determine the rates,
Mm-hmm.
and a rate that may have gone up 10% might go up 7% because we have this extra money we collected.
Mhm.
Yes.
We're not gonna, I didn't wanna lower the rate and then turn around and have to raise the rate 4 months from now.
Right. I mean, because we have emphasized that pretty much
It is a pass-through. yes.
everything is a pass-through.
Yes.
Our administrative
Yes.
costs have stayed just
Yes.
level and low.
And, but that money will still be a credit to the cable.
Yeah.
And will still be in that account. So when we go forward and determine the rates for next year, that any overage we might have is gonna be factored into that.
Essentially prorate that credit back
Yeah.
over the rest, and we'll work
Yeah.
with David to make sure that those are all,
And in the
properly.
meantime, cross our fingers, we can find the Reds.
Yeah, I'm
We
confident
should
that
be able
we'll.
to.
that
I
we'll-
really feel like we should be able to.
Yeah.
It really behooves them to, they want their program to be available. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, in fact, their release even stated that you will be able to see the games on the providers that you currently
Yeah.
have, even though they don't have agreements in place, so they obviously feel confident that they'll be able to get these deals done, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And baseball is an age. It's a John Cubine era fan base in terms of age. So they are
Hey,
more likely.
I'm a baseball fan too. That's all
They
right.
are more likely to be cable dependent as well. So
And I think, and you guys certainly are welcome to take action. I spoke to Mr. Price about, the proper, what the action you guys will be taking on this, and we'll essentially just allow the agreement to expire on
that's
December
fine.
31st.
I just whatever you feel like is appropriate, Hans. I just don't feel like we want to renew. We want to renew this. How it was couched. Consider FanDuel Sports Ohio amendment. I would say we just. If I would go ahead and make the motion, we not accept the amendment. Yeah.
Just out of ignorance, what else is on that channel? I don't know.
You get some Cavalier games, Cleveland Cavalier games, and you get some Columbus Blue Jackets games, the NHL team out of Columbus.
Other than that, there's not a whole lot. I mean, there's some overnight. There's infomercials, and
So
then
no
there's
interest really.
not a whole lot.
Not really.
No Louisville
Because
games.
LeBron,
No UK
LeBron
games.
is at the Lakers, so
Yeah.
LeBron is long gone from the Cavaliers. So
So I'm fine making a motion that we just not approve the amendment.
is that the proper motion, Hans? Just
I think it's the board's pleasure. If you take no action, the agreement will simply lapse. If you make a motion, you're just stating affirmatively that we don't plan to renew. So
I'd like to go ahead and just state that affirmatively that we're not going to renew it.
Board pleasure.
All right, I'll second it.
okay. We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's adopted. Harvey?
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Next item is item 5.5. Consider award of bid invitation number 1814, pad mount transformers to Cape Electrical in the amount of $75,500. Ms. Hellard, how you doing?
Good evening. How are you? Good. We sent a bid out for the smaller pad mount transformers. We had gone to remanufacture during COVID, mainly for lead times, and we're back to a lot slower lead time, a lot less of a lead time now. Cape Electric was the low bid, and 20 to 25 weeks on the lead time. The remanufactured it's kind of done a switch now. I think everyone bought up what was available to be redone, and their lead time is a lot longer. So we're coming back to being able to buy new transformers without the year, 2-3 year wait.
So that's what I was gonna say. How does this pricing and lead time compare to pre-COVID?
The pricing is more than pre-COVID. During COVID, it was less, but we were buying remanufactured.
Okay.
So it is more. The lead times are probably back to pre-COVID.
Okay.
Once again, this is an insane price difference
Oh,
on this bid.
yeah. Any questions for Jennifer? And how many of these do we keep in stock?
It depends on the projects. This is a little bit bigger order because they do have some that will be held for a specific project.
Okay.
So I think they need it. We probably keep, that might be the max we keep, but with what we have in stock now and we know we're gonna use, it's a little bit bigger order of 10.
And whatever we got in stock now needs to hold us, what, about 6 months?
Till these come in. So they know they're gonna be using several of them probably as soon as we get them, or the ones we have now.
Any other questions? Now, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's adopted. Item 5.6, consider award of bid invitation number 1816, fiber optic cable to Power and Telephone Supply Company in the amount of $158,915.40. Ms. Heller.
And this is another inventory item just on the telecom side. This prices, the last time we bid this was in May, and that pricing that I included is reflecting pretty much every size is down on the price. Lead times are about the same as they were in May. We had about a 4 to 6 week lead time then. The only one that went up was just a small amount, and that one we use the most, so it's probably just more in demand. So the pricing is coming down on that, at least for this bid.
Any questions, Jennifer, on this one? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's adopted. Ms. Heller, last item for you. Consider
Last one.
item 5.7, consider award of bid invitation number 1817, Clearfield FiberFlex 3,000 active cabinets to Cape Electrical Supply in the amount of $57,817.
Okay, these are, we do not keep these in inventory. We don't buy them very often. They are needed for the county build out, so these two will specifically be for the fiber to the home project in the with the grants. So but they're not normally, we just buy them as needed.
Is this about what you thought the prices would be on these?
I don't,
Or do we not buy
I'm not
enough to even have
sure.
a good
Yeah,
feel?
I'm not sure if we even have a comparison on, it would have been years if we bought any.
Yeah.
But it's all in, it would all be in the fiber to the home budget line.
Any questions, Jennifer, on this? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's adopted. Number 6, Mr. General Manager?
I don't.
Any old or new business any board member wants to bring up? Okay, if not, 7.1, Travis, Electric Department application for resiliency funding from the Kentucky Energy Environmental Cabinet.
Good evening again. Just one note on this one. I called it an information item because it was a grant application that was due yesterday. So staff went ahead and submitted for the funding. Again, I called it an information item because we're past that deadline, but if the board thinks it appropriate to take action and ratify that decision.
And you did notify the board, what, about a week, 10 days ago, this opportunity was there and
Right.
federal funding, and that we had the board meeting, but to meet the deadline, you were getting the paperwork in.
Right, exactly, yeah. So the deadline was 4 o'clock yesterday if we were gonna go for it. We had to do it yesterday. So anyways, the Energy Environment Cabinet has announced funding for resiliency improvement projects. The funding is targeted specifically for small municipal utilities, so kind of right up our alley, this opportunity. There's a wide range of projects the funding's available for. You know, kind of your typical utility improvement type of projects, weatherization, undergrounding lines, pole management, vegetation management, new technologies, kind of the gamut of electric distribution improvement projects. The grant funding requires a 1/3 cost match from awarded utilities. According to their webinar, they're targeting projects ranging from $2 to $3 million. So again, due to the short deadline, our thoughts were, what's something we can go after that's already kind of been pre-approved, if you will, projects that are already in our capital improvement plan. So that was the thought, and staff submitted an application for some of our reconductoring projects. So it's typical for the electric department to take on line improvement projects, taking out old conductor, putting in newer, better conductors in their place. Again, those are standard kind of in our capital improvement plans. Every year we set aside some funds for those projects. So again, that was due yesterday. The staff did complete and submit an application. It's a state project, but it's using federal funds, so all the kind of federal requirements that will go along with those grant type of programs will flow down. The projects we're looking at are kind of throughout our system, parts of downtown, parts of Devil's Hollow, Millville. So kind of any weak point we have in the system is where we're targeting these funds. And again, it'll be mostly taking old copper weld conductor down and putting new steel reinforced conductor in its place. Usually when we do these, we also look at the poles as well. So if we got decaying poles, we'll address those at the same time. So again, I put it in as an information item if the board thinks it appropriate maybe to ratify that decision. You know, it's of course the board's choice, but happy to answer any questions on that one.
So on this one, Hans, what's the proper, if the board chooses to affirm or confirm, what's the proper motion with this if that's the board's pleasure?
Let's say motion to approve the program motion to approve Kentucky Grid Resilience Program application.
Okay.
And regardless of whether or not, you know, when you said these, before, we would have had to accept the grant anyway if we were approved for the grant at some later date.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it really is, you know, appropriate for them to try to fill out the application.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But I would go ahead and make that motion to retroactively approve the grant application for this project.
Because as Travis pointed out, if we would get this, then it will save our ratepayers money because we're going to get some matching funds for a cost we were already going to have to incur the 100% of the cost for. So, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Grants whatever we call it.
Affirmed.
Affirmed, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Item 7.2, there'd been some discussion on the February 18th meeting and about possibly changing it. What's your all's pleasure? And I know, John, you've got stuff going on at LRC. Catherine, you had a possible conflict. Do we want to change that meeting?
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, for that particular week, the Thursday of that week works best for me on the 20th.
That would be the 20th. Does that work for you, Catherine? Can you all, does that work for everybody?
Okay for y'all?
I'm retired.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
sounds good.
So do we need to make a motion on that, Hans?
We'll just have to call a special meeting.
We'll just call it a special
Meeting for the 20th.
Does that work
We'll
for
notice it.
for staff? I mean, that
Yeah, I
was
think
my
you
other
all,
concern.
Yeah.
did you check it, Kathy, and see if
As far as I know, not
everything was good?
Okay.
So the February meeting will be on the 20th, not the 18th. The next item,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request permission to call a closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810 1C to discuss pending or proposed litigation regarding a contract matter and a declaratory judgment matter regarding real property, as well as under KRS 61.810 1N, M or N? N. N as in Nancy, to select a successful bidder for the award of a local contract.
do we have there's a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor of going into closed session, based on the stated motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We'll go into closed session upstairs, meet up there in about 10 minutes. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're out of closed session. Mr. Snyder,
Mr. Chairman, no action was taken during the board session, and I would move that we adjourn.
do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Merry Christmas, happy holidays. See y'all next year.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.